Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Held. Very simple title, with a very interesting premise, and we're going to get into it. All right, joining me tonight is my co-host Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good. And, you know, that is an interesting title because sometimes you just want to be held, but in a good way, not in a captive way.
Yes. This is more like being held hostage, not held. Yes. All right. Also joining us is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing, Crystal?
Yeah, I'm good. Like Jeff knows. Jeff just looks at me and I'm like, so disappointed.
All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give our first impressions of the film, then we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that. While we're discussing it, we may drop some small spoilers. We'll try to hold the bigger things.
This is kind of hard.
It's going to be a difficult one. We're kind of
I think the main thing, yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of, well, we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
What film are we talking about? We're talking about a movie called Held, which is coming from Magnolia and Magnolia Pictures. Available on demand and VOD beginning April 9, 2021. The directors are Travis Cluff and Chris Lofing. Or Lofing. I'm not really sure which way. The writer is Jill Awbrey. The cast includes Jill Awbrey, Bart Johnson, and Rez Kempton. The synopsis: a couple's ailing marriage is put to the test when they are held hostage in an isolated vacation rental by an unseen voice that commands their every move.
I love that voice is capitalized. Voice.
Yes, it is voice.
Yes,
all
it
right.
is.
So let's find out what our first impression of Held. Maybe Jeff, you are up first, sir.
First impression. You know, I have a feeling you guys are going to like this more than I did.
Okay.
But I kind of felt like I was kind of knowing what was going to happen all the time.
Sure.
I just and that most of the time I was just waiting for it to happen. And so do some things take place in an ingenious way? Yes. And are these good character studies? Yes. Are there a couple of flaws? Like, I don't know, there's a video we see that's kind of a testimonial, and I'm like, I don't know who would look at that and go, yeah, that's the kind of relationship I want. But
lots of men.
Oh my God. That's probably unfortunately true, but anyway, so yes, I you know what, I like the movie, and I like some of the things that happened in the way that it took place and what the lead actress did, some of her thinking, but I also kind of like I wasn't surprised much on the way, and it's probably because I watch way too many of these movies. So
Maybe.
Yep.
Rather than assume that what I'm being shown is what's happening,
You're trying to figure it out. Yes.
I'm assuming the opposite. So,
yeah.
But I enjoyed watching it.
Okay. Good. All right, Crystal, you're up next. What was your first impression of Held?
Okay. So I literally absolutely hated the first scene with the Uber driver or whatever. I did not understand that to be any sort of real conversation. I think it was so weird and so uncomfortable to me. If someone was asking me those questions, I would immediately report them. And for the Uber driver to ask that and then ask, I know what the point was, to try to make things creepy and weird already to start. But I think that was a bad decision, because I feel like it was trying to throw you off the scent, and it bothered me really badly. However, I had some questions like, why she was there early before her husband, why this, why that. There were some things that were left completely undone. There were some moments where it was very obvious because at least they gave you clues as to what was going to be happening or what was going to be coming, which I appreciate. Okay, so it sounds like I'm downing this movie, like I'm. However, I feel like the whole movie was made to make me feel uncomfortable in that way. I feel like the scene that I hated in the beginning with the Uber driver was made to make me feel uncomfortable. And as women, I think a lot of times we are made to feel that way. I am not weak, and so I don't have a problem telling people to shut up and leave me alone, but I know most women do. And I also know that I'm not a very nice person because I don't really care about being nice. I care more about being safe. So I'm different, but I see that as a reality, and I see my friends go through that, and I see how uncomfortable that is. And even the scenes where, you know, when you start getting into the dynamic relationship between the couple, all I kept thinking was, who wrote this? This is horrible. But not because I felt like it was horrible. I felt like it was uncomfortable. So there's a difference there. I think this is a very uncomfortable movie. And I think it's uncomfortable because it's meant to be uncomfortable. So it did its job. I really think ultimately that was the purpose of it. You know, I mean, we put women in a little box. We've had a lot of female empowering movies recently. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they bother me, get on, but there is something about this that in the uncomfortableness, I understand it. Even as much as I may seem like I'm putting it down, I'm not. I think it was shot well. I think that the acting was good. I think that the story was interesting. The location was amazing. Oh my gosh, that drone shot from the top, it's such a creepy place.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. In my uncomfortable nature and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I really thought it was. I was like, I didn't see exactly what was coming, but yeah, they give you clues. I mean, along the way, but it actually turned out even better than I anticipated because I thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh really? I could see that. Yeah.
I had a kind of a similar experience, except for in a not in the same way, but the same kind of reaction. The first act of this film, I was a little nervous. I was like, but not because I was uncomfortable. I was like, oh, this is not going to be a good movie. I was like, oh no. I think the beginning of it's a little shaky, but it by the time you get into the second act, it actually ended up doing the job, right? It gets you into this place. We're with a couple in an environment that's new, and they're trying to, there's you obviously get that the couple is uncomfortable. Everything that we experience is kind of really the couple. And I think that's kind of what you were saying, Crystal. And
yeah, it's
yeah. So it's the first 30 minutes or so doesn't necessarily pave a good road. Then we get our first twist with the house and the whole premise of the story where they get locked in, they're held hostage, and there's a presence in the house that is telling them what to do, and if they don't do it, they suffer the consequences. So it certainly starts ramping up and pretty quickly, and everything starts to improve. The story starts to improve. I think the acting starts to improve. The scenario starts to improve. And then some of the things like feel off, and you find out why, right? So which is really an interesting step. So it continually, like you said, continually like tries to throw you off balance. I wasn't like Jeff though. I didn't really predict the movie early. We're going to have to be careful not to spoil it because there's a pretty good twist, and but when it happens, it was like, oh, of course, of course,
yeah, exactly.
And but there's a part where the evidence is presented to one of our members of our couple, and that didn't feel as genuine as I thought they were wanting it to be.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was like, I was like, it felt like it was overplayed on that person's part. But
it was, yeah. I see what you're saying.
But we know why, right? Now that we've seen the entire film, it actually makes sense. I really liked. In the end, I ended up really enjoying the film. Does it have flaws? Yes. Is it uneven? Yes. Does it accomplish what it sets out to? I think so, and I think it's shot really well. There's our characters are framed well. Like one will be in the foreground and one will be in the back, even when they're both looking at the audience into the camera. So it's more than competent, right? It's a really well shot film. It's also we're basically 3 or 4 characters. We got the Uber driver, we got the voice, we got the family, the couple, and so there isn't a whole lot. It's manageable in that respect. And what was it? I didn't realize this, but I keep doing that. You mentioned it earlier. The directors did a couple of films that at least one of them we reviewed here on the site. What was those films, Jeff?
Gallows and Gallows 2.
Yes. Do you remember that I got crap for liking the guy? I don't know if you were listening then, but
I was, but I don't remember. I thought people okay, I can see that.
Well,
my impression was everybody pretty much dumped on it. So I apparently.
Oh yeah. For some reason I didn't, but it was Blumhouse, so there's that.
Oh,
there you go.
are a Blumhumper.
Yeah. So, but I have not seen the second one. It was weird. It never came out, and I haven't. It actually is streaming. So okay. But anyway, long story short, they did this as well. I think they've improved quite a bit as directors.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, this was not a bad movie by any stretch. Yes. Like I said, that's why I was like. I know it sounds like I'm downing it, but I'm not. I thought it was horrible because it made me feel that way. Mm-hmm. Made me feel so horrible. It made me feel so uncomfortable. But it wasn't that way. Was it overplayed in a lot of ways? Absolutely. Like you said, the reveal was overplayed. That driver was super overplayed because I'm like, dude, like it made me angry. I'm like, are you freaking see? I want to get so mad right now. I'm like, I'm an angry person.
You're angry.
Yeah. So he's lucky that she's not. She's nice and sweet and just like let's whatever happened to her. So that was another part. I mean, her character. The beginning scene was uncomfortable, right? Even though they didn't show anything. When that was the back seat thing, and I'll say, it was like a girl in the back seat where basically her boyfriend gives her to another guy, and we don't see anything, thankfully, and we didn't need to, but it was really uncomfortable. But it shows the nature of her character, and so I don't know. I really it all. I guess it all just made sense to me, and in that way, it worked itself out. Mm-hmm. It made sense. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene that Jeff alluded to with this commercial, if you will, this sales pitch, if you will, that's kind of weirdly stitched into the story.
Is it though? I thought that that's like one of my favorite parts of I was like,
well that's where I was going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like it almost entirely made the film almost by itself. That whole
Yeah,
the whole
the
scenario.
idea of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, ugh, freaking hate you guys.
Mm.
But you know what? And I know that Jeff's like, oh, who would? Jeff, you'd be surprised.
I think there's a lot. I love when the guys show up behind our faux couple in the commercial, and they're all like, right, holding their drinks.
Yeah. I'm like, I will gut you like a fish. That's all.
Oh man. But I have a question. So, especially for you, Crystal, I thought that the character, was the lead female character, was a very smart character.
Yes, thankfully, God.
Okay, so I wanted to be sure I wasn't.
Oh no, she was like there's no reason that she should have suspected anything more or anything. There is no. No, I think she was very smart. Mm-hmm. I think did she try to push too hard to get away at times? It only appeared that way, I think, because of the way it was set up. Mm-hmm. I mean, once everything comes around, it's like, oh, it just seemed worse because of everything. Yeah. Okay.
So there is a twist that we're going to delicately not give away, but yes. Jeff admitted he saw it coming. And you and I both said, well, maybe not as much.
Not like that. Yeah. Did I see 50% of it? Yes. But the way that it was done, oh my God. No. I would have never suspected that. Mm-mm. Not that.
Yeah, I don't want to. I can't say anything without
giving it away.
Giving anything away.
Yeah.
But you saw the writing on the wall.
Well, there was one key thing I just never bought right from the start.
Okay.
So once this other stuff started kicking in, it was like, oh well, that's just what I thought.
If you watch, you could totally see that they played it the way that they should have played it. There are signs, absolutely along the whole way. If you look, because I was like, that's an odd way to react there. That's yeah. Yeah,
and if you're and it comes it might come across as being on or off, right?
Not being right. But it's not so much so that you would necessarily say for sure. Mm-hmm. It's just playing it safe. I don't know.
I'm staying away from it. I'm not saying anything else.
No insight from Jeff on this time. We'll have to do that offline. All right, so let's do this. Let's wrap things up. We'll give our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're still listening, we want to thank you for hanging out with us and listening to our reviews. We hope you're enjoying not only this one, but the other ones that we have on the site. If you want to support us, it's really easy and free to do. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button or share with a friend. Either way, it does a great deal for us. If you want to get more involved, there's a like button, a dislike button. You can hit a bell to get reminded. We'd love to hear your comments. If you catch this film, we hope you do. Let us know what you think about it down below. We'd love to hear from it. We also want to thank our patrons who support our show through Patreon. And without their help, we wouldn't be able to do not only this show, Gruesome Magazine, but Horror News Radio, Decades of Horror, and Heroes and Droids. A lot to check out. And we want to thank them dearly for their support. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All
right, so let's do it. Our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. And Jeff, I think you are up first, sir.
I guess I am.
You can do it. You can do it, sir.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. What do I say? I'm going to give it a 3.25.
That's
okay. Good. Yeah, good.
And again, I think it's a well-made movie and everything. And for whatever reason, part of it I sort of got right away. And then there was other parts, like you're talking about scenes that make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, they made me feel uncomfortable. But then in the end, my mind changed about that.
Oh, yeah.
It totally changed because that's it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The scene I liked.
Yes.
So how do I say this?
I don't know. You're keeping us in suspense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waffling because I'm trying to think of how to describe it. I'm just gonna say when she gets in. Well, okay, I'm gonna change it. When she's laying on the floor
Yes.
next to the bed,
Yes.
and everything entailed in that. Okay,
Yes.
that I could say. It's not quite that hard to say.
Yes.
So yes, I do take notes, but I changed my mind.
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Okay. All right. I know what you're saying. There's some word you can use, I think, that would not give it away, but I'm not going to do it in case you were afraid to use it. So, all right, Crystal, you are up next. I will say, Jeff, your score was higher than I thought it was going to be. Crystal,
Yeah, me too.
what is your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene?
Okay. I think a lot of people are gonna like this. Actually, I think even a lot of guys are gonna. I kind of chuckled and laughed at the reveal because I'm like, yeah, and I think that if you can kind of go in without any expectations and just watch it for what it is, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, I think that's a good thing. By the way, I think it's supposed to. So just be advised. There's not too much gore, or there's some funs. Like, okay, I'll just give you my favorite scene. Like, what's interesting is my favorite scene is a leg stab. I don't know what it is with the leg stab, but there is a. I was like, oh, yikes! Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yep.
Oof, that was a rough one. Yeah,
Yes.
it's good.
Yeah.
That wasn't no dinky pair of scissors either.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to get nose hairs with those scissors.
I think you should give it a watch if you have a chance. Definitely, it's got an interesting twist, and honestly, I would actually like to see this concept taken further.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's a lot that could be done with this, but I'm going to give it a 3.5. So
Nice.
That's why I thought Jeff was even going to go higher
Oh,
too.
okay.
Because I thought, yeah. So yeah, there you go. Yay.
Well, I'll start off saying that I was going to give it a 3.5. So I guess we're
good.
even though I feel like I like it more, we're actually kind of all on the same page. The beginning of this movie, I'm going to repeat myself. The beginning of this movie had me worried because I think the beginning is wildly uneven and not necessarily up to snuff. But once it gets into the second act and it gets into things, I really got on board. And I even more got on board with the third act. Once the reveal happens, and there's a couple of reveals, so you won't know which reveal I'm talking about, but the reveal. And when that happens, you will know what I'm talking about. And I totally bought into that. I said, it's kind of silly. I'm gonna say it.
That's why I kind of chuckled.
But I
mean,
liked it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I actually think it could have pushed that a little further. And if they pushed a little further, you might have had like a your.
But it might have messed with the tone. I think that it was just enough to keep the tone okay. I don't know. I think.
Well, it wasn't what they were after. It wasn't what they were after to go more into that.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
I just felt like personally as a viewer, I was wanting it to be
because it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I grew to really like our two leads. I think beforehand we were talking about them, and I was a little nervous with them at first, but I really grew to like them by the third act, and so I found myself in the end, enjoying it. It's a film can do that, right? It can start off kind of wobbly, and then it can land, stick the landing, as I always say. And when it does, it pays off, and this one does. And my favorite scene reflects that, and it involves a shovel.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I already know it. Yep. I have that written down too.
Yeah.
Shovel smash.
Yep. I always love a good shovel to the head, and
Yeah.
it was telegraphed, but not in a predictable way, in a way that you want it to happen, and you know it's going to happen, and you can't wait for it to happen.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's like, yeah. That's my favorite. That absolutely is my favorite moment. I thought all of you were going to steal it, because
I thought about it. I mean, but I had a few scenes that I really liked. Honestly, the reveal was probably my ultimate favorite, but I thought for sure you guys were. I don't know. There was like that last third act. It was like, oh, yep.
All right, so there's our review for Held. I'm a little surprised by it, to be honest with you. Going into it, I was a little nervous. So there's our review for Held. It's out on VOD and streaming, out there on demand. So check it out if you get a chance. Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Chris,
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Open the door. No?
Open
No.
the door.
You got to open the door first. I have to open the door first. And then you...
Oh my God. I just got it. I can't believe it took me that long.
All right, good night.